The comments, opinions, and views shared during this program are of those individual Freemasons and do not reflect the official position of a Grand Lodge, Concordant Body, Appendant Body, Masonic Authority, or CraftsmanOnline.com.
Welcome back to the Craftsman Online Podcast, the only Masonic podcast endorsed by the Grand Lodge of New York. I'm your host, Right Worshipful Brother Michael Arce, and no sweat, this episode we're hoping goes a little viral this week. I'm guessing we're going to get some help with our guest, Brother Sean Moody. Before we bring in the most interesting traveling man that you'll ever meet, I want to tell you about our Craftsman Online Podcast Patreon offer. You can subscribe and support the show. And here's a cool thing, just $5 a month. We thank you for that. It goes to all the production costs that are associated with doing a podcast, which I know it sounds like everybody's doing one these days, but for a quality show, that costs a little Skrilla. And your investment in us goes a long way. We reward you with ad-free episodes and access to our full subscriber extra back catalog. That means some extra bonus time episodes with select guests. Get started with Craftsman Online on Patreon. There's a link to start your free 7-day trial and the notes for this episode. Okay, so I think for most Freemasons, the idea of going viral or blowing up on Instagram is not something that we're necessarily looking for. But for this week's guest, he's a content creator and influencer. You might know him online better as Shonald Connery, but I had a chance to catch up with him here in the DC area last year, and I know him as Brother Sean Moody. Welcome to the Craftsman Online Podcast.
Thank you. Thanks, Brother Michael. Good to see you.
I first met you towards the end of last year, 2025, at a lodge meeting here in the DC area as a fellow traveling man in the jurisdiction. I feel a lot of brothers don't really benefit from that, or they don't think about that as a Master Mason. It's one of the things that drives me crazy because we say, hey, this is why we wanted to become a Master Mason so we could visit other lodges. When did you decide, like, hey, I want to get out of my mother lodge and go visit, the lodge across the street or around town?
Well, my mother lodge is in Florida. Basically just moved to DC and had to get settled here and kind of just looked around and got a little lonely and remembered, hey, I have a lifetime of unlimited friends in the oldest fraternity in the world, that is Freemasonry. And on top of that, the one we met at has free dinner. Can't beat that. Actually, I was going to make a hack about that, about different ways to get free dinner, one of which is how to do it at Congress, one of which how to do it at Freemasons. If I get into some interesting places for free food.
Pro tip, December, you could basically eat for the month free in the grand jurisdiction of the District of Columbia because that's when all of our installations happen.
Yes.
And so you're not just getting dinner, you're going to get a pretty good to even great caliber meal.
Pretty much every food hack gets a benefit when you add a suit to it. So if you have a suit, that's usually your ticket into getting a lot of free food.
And we're sitting across the table from each other at a wonderful free dinner. And you're like, yeah, I'm a visiting brother. I moved to the area and I started telling you my story. And the next thing we get into it and I'm like, you're what do we call you? A content creator?
Oh, influencer, technically. Content creator. That works too.
And you start telling me about your videos, and I'm like, no way. Like, when my son was 12, he once told me, and this was back in 2014, that when he grew up, he wanted to be a YouTube gamer. And I was like, your reaction is how I felt, but I was like, dude, it's not going to happen for you because you suck. I've seen you and your friends play these games, and you guys suck. What else do you got? When did you realize that, hey, content creator, influencer, whatever the term you want to use, when did you realize that could be a path for you?
Oh, just when the algorithm gods decided to, shine the spotlight on me and, you get your 15 minutes of fame. And a lot of people, almost like I did, just go, oh, well, I got my viral video. I did a video just for your viewers to know about basically I was trying to buy some airline tickets. And another interesting story, there were airline tickets to go to Indiana because a museum had somehow found my grandfather's love letters to my grandmother during his time in the Korean War, and they had disappeared from us and shown up at this museum. That's a whole nother story. But I was trying to get airline tickets And the airline has this button for upgrade for $80. And I was like, no. And it wouldn't let me click it. And so I was like, oh, this is interesting. So I just filmed myself having a really frustrated time. And I was like, all right, here's how you disable this button. And I showed everyone a really easy way to go into the website's backend and remove the button itself. And also hinted at, by the way, don't use this to get around paywalls. Basically, that video went to, I don't know, 6 million views. Even though I'm not a computer science guy, I'm just a curious guy. I was like, okay, I guess I'll try it again. So then it was like, how do I get rid of all these YouTube ads, And then that one took off. And then, oh, how do you jailbreak your Roku? That one took off. And just created kind of a storyline. So teaching everyone these kind of interesting hacks while at the same time, having like a fake battle with Kevin Bacon in the background and trying to get more followers than my ex-girlfriend.
There was a strategy. There was a plan. This wasn't just by accident.
Well, so that's an interesting thing. I've been doing social media for other companies for the better part of it, for more than a decade. And there was not a plan to make this thing go viral originally, the first one. It just went viral. And then I went, all right, let's take a look at it. And I looked at it and I went, oh, I've got the hook. I've got the freebie. I've got the call to action. Okay, I just instinctively made this a viral video. And there's a way to do that. There's a whole mathematical formula that I'll probably go into one of my hacks in the future. But I just instinctively did it. I kind of call this, I think there's people who can follow a formula and then there's people who can instinctively do it. And the best people who can instinctively do it grew up with The Simpsons, in my opinion, just because they get that perfect timing and those perfect jokes.
When did all this happen for you? Like, where were you in life? What age were you? Were you a Freemason yet? What was going on?
Oh, this was like 6 months ago.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I have 850,000 followers right now, all of which I got in the last 6 months.
Wow.
I joined Facebook last week and got 50,000 followers since then. If you make something that has value and you use a formula to make this thing happen the way it's supposed to happen, things can just take off. Plus, I noticed there's one little thing that everybody doesn't seem to get. These platforms have been taken over by Gen Z people. They're kind of like the professionals at it. But they turned all of their content into commercial advertisements.
Hold that thought for just a second. This is a great time to talk about Patreon and how you could join. Oh.
Yeah, actually, that's very funny. So what the Gen Z people do is they made everything all production-y and like, did you know that? And they don't give any new information. They're talking about like how they just found out they have a garbage disposal in their sink, Meanwhile, people like us are like, what? Like, oh, the world is so new to you. And, me, I'm like, all right, look, forget all that bull crap. Here I am. I'm in a shirt that probably has a stain on it. I'm at my computer. I'm in a basement right now, which is where I live. And here's how I get by. And I'm only showing you stuff that I haven't seen other people do, which is probably why it's been taking off.
You had teased, and I'm going back to my old school radio training where, always think of an audience of one. So my audience of one in this moment is going to be, my wife, the woman I love and fear, and she's just upstairs. Her dream is to become a TikTok influencer. She tries so hard. I think she has 7 followers who are human beings. One is me, and the other are her 6 other sisters. And I try to tell her, I'm like, you're doing all of the stuff that everybody else is already doing. People aren't going to follow you. You seem to have found kind of a magic here. Is there a secret sauce when you talk about being original? It's hard to explain to people. You just said that like Gen Zers have a hard time doing this. Like, what is it? What is the magic sauce there?
Yeah, well, I'll quote some fantastic information from my good friend Andrew Heaton, who some of you may know. He's a person who does he has a podcast called The Political Orphanage. He said, you need to look at what you're doing and you need to tell the audience, this is the only place where you're going to get this, because that makes you special and that makes people want to follow you.
Mm.
When I show people, they can get around these upcharging ticket sales, and I'm doing it in a way where it's like, this is just what I figured out. I didn't learn this from a TikToker or anything like that. And people are like, oh, I never knew about that. Another big one that no one had ever seen was how to skip in front of the scalpers using coding in the back end of a ticketed event. That one blew up to like 10 million views because no one else had ever done it. Doesn't work all the time, but if you can find the right ticketed event, you can skip in front of the scalpers. It's not just the information that people don't know, it's the experience. You are a unique person. And I think most people, they like, oh, yes, well, I'm going to be this great, I'm going to follow what the great people have done. Lean into your uniqueness. When I was coming up, I was studying I don't know if you ever heard of the pickup artist. There's like a whole subculture of people who try to mathematically figure out the best way to do dates and stuff like that. And one of the things that they learned was if you're the guy who wears the suit and you like look like everyone else, you are going to be treated like everyone else. You're going to be left out in the cold. So they do what's called peacocking, where they have like little things that stand out about them, like wearing a really fluffy fur coat or something like that. You need to be yourself, lean into your own feathers, I guess you could say. Bring the information. And if you got some weirdness like me, I am a guy who has an ex-girlfriend who wanted to be an influencer. And I'm kind of like, my character is a little lonely. I'm in a dark basement right now. But I'm still like, well, I'm going to get ahead, come with me. Let's do it. That's kind of my character. Those are my feathers. And a lot of people relate to that. Not the least to include some celebrities. I had Shaquille O'Neal follow me. I have Neil Patrick Harris follow me. Alan Tudyk follows me because I'm just a funny, guy who's got useful information.
Walk me through a day in the life for you, because you said this is your full-time thing, and I know there's people like my wife who dream of Sunday becoming a social media influencer. This is her weekend, hobby job. She's got to show outfit of the day and all the other duck face poses that they do. But what's it like for you? You wake up whenever you feel like it. You have to start creating content right away. What happens?
Oh yeah, no, I wake up whenever I feel like it. That's totally awesome. I used to hate getting on the bus and going to the 9 to 5 and being with all the other people who are, tired and exhausted. The day I woke up and I went to the gym and I didn't start working until 1. I actually haven't done any social media stuff today at all. I try to do something once a week. Yeah, I actually do real estate stuff too, which I'm working on, hasn't really paid off yet. I do video production work. And then tomorrow, I'll probably start the social media video of the week. Mine, I kind of go really hard on. Usually I spend somewhere between 10 and 20 hours every video that I do. The last video I did, which was like kind of an entire, it was like just a very important educational video. So that one took probably about 3 weeks, and I kind of during Christmas was working on that. There was actually an actor, Mark Duplass, who said in one of his podcasts that when he was able to, he gained a little bit of money at one point, like not a ton, but a little bit of money, and he was able to stop doing the 9 to 5 thing, where you have to be like, oh, if I don't go to work, I'm going to starve. That's acting based on fear. So he got a little bit of money and he was like, okay, I want to focus on acting. And just that positive, some people call it acting based on love instead of fear, kind of opened up the world of possibilities, because suddenly you're able to think clearly. You're not thinking, where am I going to eat? You're not thinking, where am I going to get the money to survive? Because we've been kind of conditioned to focus on the really short term. We've been conditioned to be like, how do I pay the rent? Because it's imminent and I don't want to be on the street. I would say build up a little bit of a investment in yourself so that you can let yourself breathe and let yourself think, and let yourself think not based on fear. I didn't know that social media was going to open up for me. I thought one of these other things was going to open up for me. And they are, because I'm doing all three of them. But I wouldn't have been able to do that if I was going to a 9 to 5 every day, if I was working every day and then coming home exhausted at 6 p.m. after rush hour and just wanting to watch TV until I pass out. And then on Saturdays doing the laundry. No, when I wake up now, I look at my schedule. I have this whole system and I go, what is the most important thing to my dreams? Instead of what are the most important things to the employer who employed these dreams? And I think that we could all, I mean, if everybody did that, then I don't know, like maybe our whole economy would adjust. But for the people who can have the privilege to be able to do that, you know, you might change your life. You might fail. That's always possible. But you're not going to succeed in this way if you don't carve out the space for it.
I think a lot of people think, oh, this guy just wakes up and he's just funny right away, which of course he is. But there is a strategy. But when you talk about like 3 weeks to produce something, like for someone that has a media production background, I'm like, that's like a small documentary or an editorial piece for a newscast, some sort of investigation piece that would go into it. And that's just the production time they put into it. He's earned the title Tech Robin Hood because the things that you talk about focus on, obviously, technology, finance, and as you mentioned, hacks. You had to figure out who your target audience is. You had to figure out what the common problems are that they face. And then your job is to figure out creative ways to present these solutions in a fun way that we would now call content.
Yeah. Well, like I said, watching The Simpsons a lot helped with that. Number two, my job for over 10 years has been training people from the ground up in tech stuff. So I've been asked every single question. I once got asked, how do I get to YouTube? It kind of taught me that whole thing they say when you work in the newspaper industry, make it so a second grader could read it. That is so important. I don't assume you know anything when I teach one of my courses. And also, I'm not going to assume you know how to install a program. I'm going to go to this website, click this button, download it, double click it here, right click, unzip. I show you exactly how to do every single thing because I know you miss one little thing and everyone's, oh, I don't know how to unzip a file. It's like, okay, that's fine. My audience is everybody. Most people, I think, don't even use the hacks. I think they just want to know how they work.
To be honest, that's what I do myself. I spend about an hour to an hour and a half every night watching TikTok videos as part of my routine before I go to bed. And if you're looking for Brother Sean Moody, his online account, he's known as Shonald Connery. That's Shonald Connery on everything. This dude is on every freaking platform that exists. You will find his videos. And what I like about it is just what you just said is like, I can go to this, and even though I'm like, you know what, I'm not really that interested in how to get around this, there's no like gotcha moment at the end where it's like, oh, well, to get the rest of this, you got to subscribe, like, and follow, or jump over here for some paywall thing, which would be kind of ironic for a guy that's teaching you how to get around paywalls, is that you're just giving people information. What is the feedback? Like, have you ever had someone in real life, as they call it, come up and be like, yo, bro, thank you so much for this video. It was crazy how stupid easy you made this. And, I love you for it.
My Instagram messenger is just constantly pinged with, oh, it's so great you helped me with this. Oh, it's so great you helped me with that. And by the way, on my Patreon, I do have some things that are paywall, believe it or not. But what I do is I never force. I always give you something that you can take to the end, and then I go. And if you want to, there's something really amazing. You can see all the hacks there. Like for instance, when Amazon hit my car, I was like, okay, I'm going to teach you every Amazon hack there is now until they pay for the car.
I do remember this. This was a funny in real life. This really happened. Yeah. This wasn't just a gag. It was, yeah.
It's what's really funny too is almost every hack I've given has been in retaliation to me getting screwed over by some company. And it's not anything made up. It's all happened. In that vein, I was like, okay, now let's teach you how to jailbreak Audible. Well, what does that mean? That means when you buy Audible, if you stop paying for it, you stop getting access to your books. And some people want to have those. Some people want to just have them separate. So here's how you jailbreak it. And then, but also if you want to build your own Audible, which involves setting up a server, involves getting free rights content in 4 different ways that I show people, then, you can support me. But, the little piece of it that actually does something amazing is always, I try to make them free. And then what I do is I usually will give people a sneak preview ahead of time who do like the $5 tier. You get to see the hack a week ahead of time. And this is kind of like a way to let you try the hack before everyone else does. Because sadly, when everybody knows about something, sometimes things are patched. And sometimes one of the hacks, this isn't much of a hack, more of an investment thing. One of them was investing in a dinosaur excavation. Basically, as some people have seen my videos, only millionaires until recently have been able to invest in dinosaur excavations, and the returns are like 4,000%. Because they spend $1 million to dig up a stegosaurus, and then it goes to auction for $42 million. And so there's a company that got a bunch of people together to invest in the excavation, and then they pay you back once it's done. I own part of the stegosaurus, part of a brontosaurus. And so I put that on my thing. And because I'm in it, I get the early access link to invest. So I put that on there, and all the people who were just $5 tier members got to see it a week before it opened, so they could get as many shares as they wanted. And then the free members, they got to see it the day before it opened. So they could still get the shares, but you got to act quick. And that thing sold out in 5 minutes once it opened up. So
yeah, you'd be the guy I'd want to play 2 truths and 1 lie, or 2 lies and 1 truth, or whatever, that game is, because I own dinosaur bones. Oh, that's got it.
Yeah, no. I got the certificate.
We've talked about everything from the hacks, the content generation. You've even shared some tips with us. We mentioned early on, like, hey, the Freemason, the Masonic tie here is a great place to score free meals, which I never really thought about it. Like, there's only one other brother I've heard use that term before, and I love him for that.
They're good meals, too. Those Masonic wives know what they're doing.
Yeah, they do.
And they usually have beers and stuff. I don't drink, but like, it's great. It's great.
Yeah, it's an easy score. How has and what has been the role of Freemasonry in your life?
Oh gosh. Yeah. So Freemasonry. So I started back in 2013. I actually started in Florida, and the person who trained me in my catechisms was actually a Freemason who was technically homeless at the time, and extremely respected inside of the lodge, which kind of goes to show the value of the brotherhood. And he lived in an old burned out restaurant, which he was technically allowed to stay there because he was the security guard. He was sleeping on an air mattress. And I would buy a 12 pack of, bud or something like that. And then also a pack of cigarettes. And back when I used to drink and smoke, and we would sit there, and I learned my catechisms in this like half building in Florida that was like abandoned, being taught by a well-respected man who didn't have a home. As I went through, you kind of learned that Freemasonry contains all of the wisdom of the ancients. And I can't give away any secrets, obviously, on this podcast, but there's an interesting parallel between what I do now and kind of the secrets of Freemasonry without giving them away. As you know, with the internet, everything about Freemasonry, including the secrets, is available. And they address this in the meetings. They say, we know that you can find them elsewhere, but you just won't get them from me. But the interesting thing that I've found is that with this advent of the internet, people still don't know the secrets of Freemasonry. And the reason is because the internet itself has caused your attention span to shrink down to about 8 seconds. That's a social media analytics number. Our attention spans are less than a goldfish now because of that late night scrolling you were talking about, I'm very sorry to say. So the secrets of Freemasonry still remain intact for the most part because people can't absorb the information. And it kind of ties in with the way the old masters, not master masons, but literal masters of uh, craftsmanship used to operate. It used to be if you wanted to be a shoemaker, you had to basically give yourself up for indentured servitude to learn the trade and do all the work for free so you could learn how to make shoes. This was secret knowledge, that was kind of held together. And now with the internet, anyone can be a shoemaker, but not everyone has the attention span. So the interesting thing, and I kind of hate to come to this conclusion, but I think it's true. The new masters are the people who can take the information and turn it into something that our attention spans can absorb. So the new masters are the influencers. And that blows my mind. I hate that, first of all. I wish everyone had the attention span to go out and do whatever they wanted, because if you do, you can make anything happen with just a curious mind. I'm known as the Tech Robin Hood now. I don't have a computer degree. I don't have a history. I'm a philosophy major, but I have a curious mind. And I learned that back in college, there was this guy who was a legend at tech stuff. And I was like, how do you know all this tech stuff? And he goes, I have Google. I have Google. That's it. You could do anything you want. You just have to train your mind to get there.
Some people would say that about your life too. When you started the answer to that question, you're like, well, I learned my catechism in an abandoned restaurant with a Mason over a 6-pack and a pack of cigarettes. It's like there's people that live country songs, right? But then there's people who just basically live a movie script. Like, I was going to ask you what's next after content creation, but I seriously think you could write a movie about your life. Like, do you realize how interesting it is, and do you enjoy that?
That's so flattering. I always, because I'm a content creator, as you know, I've always thought, like, how do I write a movie about my life? And I'm like, one day I'm gonna sit down and do it. But yeah, no, there's other things in there, but that's just one little piece of the pie. I tell you, one day we'll get there and kind of explain everything else that's happened. But yeah, like, yeah, I'm not supposed to be here. I was told by a doctor that I had about 5 years left until my liver gave out, and that was 7 years ago. So I kind of consider this like my second year of life. This is like, okay, you should be dead now, and so you're happy now. I'm all healed now. I don't want to give them a misconception. I quit drinking. I have a bunch of friends in AA now. My liver has shrunk back to the right size. But basically, I was told, no, you're pretty much done. And it would take kind of a miracle, and I got that. And so I kind of get to experience life with new eyes every single day. And I guess through that, what I've learned is all of this stuff that we think is so important, that gets our anxiety up, that gets our fears up. Like, you've heard that cliche, it doesn't really amount to a hill of beans, it's not important. And when you take the time to try and figure out what is important, some amazing things start to happen, at least in my experience. And the worst thing you can do, I think, is to just have a negative attitude about it. If you're down, like I've been in a position where I had to sneak into a property that I shouldn't have been in so that I had a place to stay. I've been down before. I have what they call privilege. After finding out, like, oh, you've got 5 years to live, and not having any money, and at one point having somebody screw me on the rent, so I had to move out and having nowhere to go. I've never ever sat there and gone, oh, my life sucks, And that's probably the biggest gift maybe my parents could have ever given me, was to just be like, God's got you, and whatever happens, you can figure it out. And I hear some people who have it worse off than me. Don't get me wrong. People who have not had the advantages that I've had. I totally acknowledge that. But I think that their biggest disadvantage is focusing on it. And I don't want to be, I know there's this big stigma about pull yourself up by your bootstraps. People don't like that saying anymore. But if I could, the only advice I would say is like, if you're focusing more on the stuff you don't have, that's where your energy is going to go.
Want to thank our guest this week, who's more than just a guy who lives in a basement and has figured life out and sharing a lot of hacks. Brother Sean Moody, appreciate your time. And if you follow the Craftsman Online podcast on Patreon and are one of our subscribers, I'll see you on Thursday. We're going to get some extra time with Brother Sean. We'll talk life hacks, life itself, and some of the deeper things that come with being a philosophy major. I'm Right Worshipful Brother Michael Arce, always looking forward to our next episode, and we catch up again next Monday with Brother Amir Abdurrahman. His article, In Search of Light, super timely, as it was published in the winter edition of the Empire State Magazine and revolves around the concept of truth. We'll get into that next week. Until then, let peace and harmony prevail.